Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in our Chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition. We turn out to poem 513, Like Flowers That Heard the News of Dews. And of course, only Emily could come up with a line like that, the news of dews. Now, some have seen this as another Sam Boyle poem. That is to say, Sam's off in Europe and Emily is missing him and longing for his return. Others have just seen this as a poem about longing and therefore kind of able to place this poem in the context of all the other poems that we've read already of Emily's that have that trace of longing, of wishing for something that has not yet been provided. Now, our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you worked through our set of introductory comments as well as our preceding 512 poems. We just finished with 512, The Soul Has Bandaged Moments. And if you have, then you will be able to say, oh, I remember this kind of poem from a number of earlier poems, a longing, a wishing for something that never quite arrives. I also want you to pay attention to the construction in this poem with the word like to start with and then three ors to follow. And then finally, we're going to get to heaven. Let's remind ourselves that we said already that Emily mentions heaven in 135 of her poems. So it is a significant question for her. Not just the afterlife issue, but is it possible to enjoy heaven on earth? Let's talk about it now through the poem. Like flowers that heard the news of dews, but never deemed the dripping prize awaited their low brows. Or bees that thought the summer's name some rumor of delirium no summer could for them. Or arctic creatures dimly stirred by tropic hint, some traveled bird imported to the word. Or wind's bright signal to the ear making that homely and severe contented known before. The heaven, unexpected come, to lives that thought that worshiping a too presumptuous song. Now, notice the construction here. In the same way that flowers love to hear about the possibility of dew coming, but never thought they would experience the prize, the dripping prize awaited there. Notice low brows. Emily here playing the game that maybe some people feel they don't deserve the kind of prize that they've always heard is out there. Or the bees, for example, that thought the summer's name some rumor of delirium no summer could for them. So notice she's building the argument. There are some people who feel like they'll never experience the thing that other people maybe experience. She then moves to arctic creatures, dimly stirred by tropic hint, some traveled bird. Obviously, you can think of Sam Boyle's and his traveling as part of this way. Imported to the word. In other words, you can hear someone, a bird that comes into hints of, there's this amazing place where it's warm all the time. Come on, get out of here, that kind of thing. Or, notice now, wind's bright signal to the ear, making that homely, back to low brows, and severe contented known before. In other words, you can hear things, the ear might be able to hear things, but not for certain receivers. Now, the syntax of the final stanza, the heaven dash unexpected come. So in other words, you could say it like this, like flowers or bees or arctic creatures or winds, comes the heaven unexpected to lives that thought the worshiping too presumptuous song. Now, I think unexpected is the key word of this poem. And I think when I hear this word come, I can't help but think of our very first word in our study of Lisa Grass. You'll remember we call that series Talks with Walt at learnstrong.net. That series available. We made a lot of the invitation of the word come, or the arrival and the use of that word. As well, I think Emily had in mind with this word come, mentioning heaven, the Revelation 22 passage as well. As we've said, Revelation is Emily's favorite biblical book. the argument here that I think is being made at 2a is that it's hard to go without the thing that you love and that you want, and you feel maybe you're not allowed to have because of your station or who you are, your lack of knowledge or whatever. At 2b, the construction here is fascinating, like, or, and then finally comes heaven. At 3a, I think of Tennyson's In Memoriam. You'll remember we've given lectures at learnstrong.net. It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Go and look at those classic poems of Tennyson's In Memoriam, and you can see as well, I think, a similar kind of longing poetry that's there. Finally, at 3b, how do you deal with longing? How do you come to terms with it, and to what degree is maybe Emily helping you with that? I hope so. Thank you.